The newest Dragon Ball Sparking Zero Master and Apprentice trailer finally dropped, and even though the trailer was pretty short at around 2.5 minutes long, there were actually a decent amount of details that caught my attention. So in this video, we're going to break all of it down. First off is that Salvo Ki Blast super attacks have been adjusted to be more visible. Now if you guys remember the Goku vs Vegeta Rivals trailer, Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta fought against Super Saiyan 2 Goku. But within their battle, Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta shot out a Salvo Ki Blast super attack against Goku. But the Ki Blasts were really small and hardly noticeable. Whereas in the Master vs Apprentice trailer, we see Kid Gohan fighting against Piccolo, and he used a Salvo Ki Blast super attack against Piccolo. And the difference between the size of Ki Blast from Gohan in this trailer to Vegeta in the Goku vs Vegeta Rivals trailer is pretty much night and day. So it's nice knowing that the developers are taking their time to make these super attacks more visible than they were beforehand. Though this next point may not seem like such a big deal, for the first time, we finally get to see our very first grab animation in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and we see this with Master Roshi versus Yamcha. Now we know that this is a grab animation because of how slow and exaggerated the move is, while the final strike of the move sends the opponent flying. And not only that, comparing it to Tenkaichi 3, though it is slightly different, we do know that that is definitely his grab because of the back kick that he does on Yamcha. This is part of his grab animation that he also did in Tenkaichi 3. So again, may not seem like such a big deal, but it's nice seeing our very first grab animation in Sparking Zero. Words cannot describe how happy I was when I saw this in the newest trailer, but we do have the confirmation that this technique is returning from Tenkaichi 3 into Sparking Zero, and it is none other than the Sonic Sway. Now, for those guys who do not know what this is, Sonic Sway was a technique that allowed you to evade your opponent's attacks and then retaliate with a counter strike. You were able to execute this by pressing circle and triangle at the same time while your opponent was physically striking you, in which you would evade the rest of their combo and then retaliate with the strike, sending them flying away from you. Knowing that it's in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is nice for a few reasons. One, it's another defensive option that we get to have against our opponents. And two, it's hype. Let's not kid ourselves. We all love seeing things like this in action, where your opponent is just trying to strike you, and then all of a sudden you're dodging everything, and then you send them flying. That is extremely hype. So knowing that it's back in Sparking Zero is nice, but they did add a specific thing to Sparking Zero's iteration of Sonic Sway that's not in Tenkaichi 3, and that is a sound effect. So now not only are you able to visually see yourself dodging your opponent, but at the start up of Sonic Sway, when it gets activated by the opponent, a familiar sound from Dragon Ball will play, letting you know that Sonic Sway has been activated. And then of course you will continue to dodge your opponent's attacks and then follow up with the counter strike. So again, very small detail, but definitely a welcome one. For the first time in the Tenkaichi series, we finally get to see Beerus and Whis in action. And in this particular case, we get to see one of Beerus's super attacks, and that move is none other than the Cataclysmic Orb. Now, to be fair, this move has gone with other names in different video games, and the names that they went with were Destruction Sphere and Sphere of Destruction. But to be fair, whatever name they decide to go with in this game for that move, I'm totally fine with. But either way though, it's nice seeing a bit more of Beerus's moveset in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, because again, he's a brand new character in the Tenkaichi series, and we've already seen his ultimate attack from not only V-Jump, but also official screenshots that they released before this trailer dropped. So now seeing another move of his is pretty nice. Speaking of new characters and new super attacks, we get to see Whis use a brand new super attack in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Now note, this move, as far as I know, has never been in any Dragon Ball video game. So I'm sure that in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, they will give this move a name. But the move I'm referring to is the barrier move Whis was using while Beerus was shooting Ki Blasts at him. Now, even though this move doesn't have a name, or at least as far as I know, we do know the reference of this move, and it refers to Dragon Ball Super Episode 18 at 3 minutes and 38 seconds. You will see that Whis has this exact barrier up, It's the barrier that he puts up while he's traveling through space. So that way, if there's anybody traveling with him that can't survive in the vacuums of space, they will be safe. Much like we see in Dragon Ball Super episode 18, where he traveled through space with Goku, because we know Saiyans can't survive in space. So again, it's a very, very nice detail to add to this character, and again, a brand new move that, as far as I know, hasn't been in the video games, but now is in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I'm totally down for it. We also get to see another technique from the Tenkaichi series return in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and that is none other than Ki Blast Reflection. So, for those of you guys who don't know, if your opponent fully charged a Ki Blast and shot it towards you, if you pressed the block button at the right moment, you're able to reflect the Ki Blast back to your opponent. And we see that in this gameplay with Whis and Beerus, where Beerus fully charged a Ki Blast towards Whis, shot it at him, and at the right moment, Whis pressed the block button and reflected it back at Beerus. So again, it's a way to be able to alleviate some pressure that the opponent tries to inflict on you, but still a good technique to have nonetheless. This particular technique seems to be something completely new to the Tenkaichi series. I was reviewing footage of earlier Tenkaichi games and could not find this technique anywhere. However, it seems to be similar in nature to a technique that is in the Xenoverse series, and it's the fact that you're able to parry super attacks. Now, we see this in the gameplay where Beerus throws out the Cataclysmic orb towards Whis, but Whis somehow manages to parry the attack and take no damage whatsoever. This is very similar to perfect blocking in the Xenoverse series, but the difference between perfect blocking in Xenoverse and this new parrying attack is that perfect blocking in Xenoverse doesn't take any resource to execute. You just have to time your block properly and you can parry darn near any attack that the opponent throws at you. Whereas with this technique, more than likely there's going to be some resource that gets drained from it. Probably your ki, probably your skill count, whatever the case may be. But I'm assuming that seeing that you're able to block a super attack, it could be another portion of super perception, where instead of you deflecting the attack, you just parry the attack instead. That's just speculation, but still, this is a brand new defensive option that we can utilize in the Tenkaichi series. And again, having a lot of options to fight with is always going to be a good thing. Personally speaking, this particular detail really doesn't matter at the end of the day, but it was still something that I noticed and thought I should point out. And it's the fact that some characters' initial animation for their Super Saiyan transformation are the same. And we see this with Future Gohan and Trunks' sword transforming into Super Saiyan. We can also confirm this with how Goku transformed into Super Saiyan from the Goku vs. Vegeta Rivals trailer as well, where the initial part of them transforming is the same. I have to emphasize initial because after Goku transforms into Super Saiyan in the Goku vs. Vegeta Rivals trailer, the ending part with the camera kind of zooming back into his face is something that we don't see with Future Gohan and Trunks' sword. So again, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they're still transforming into Super Saiyan, but it was just a small detail I noticed and wanted to point out. We also got the confirmation of a brand new stage, and that stage is none other than the City Ruin stage. And man, this stage looks incredible. I mean, we do know the origins of this stage, but just to give a bit of an explanation, primarily it's reflective of the future, where everybody is just trying to survive the onslaught of the androids, and people are living in constant fear. And I believe that the way how this stage looks like in Sparking Zero reflects that perfectly. I mean, again, you have destroyed buildings left and right. The sky is dark and gloomy with a little bit of sunlight off in the distance. And then, of course, it's just, I think the best way to describe it is it's dark and depressing, but that's what they're going for, right? It's bleak, but that's the point. So again, based on the context of why this stage exists, it fits the bill perfectly. This stage is absolutely gorgeous. This detail is very important to point out. Now, in the new Master and Apprentice trailer, we got to see Android 17 Z in action. However, even though we saw him in action, he was not added to the roster count. Now, I'm assuming that the reason why they didn't add him to the roster count is because Android 17 alongside Android 18 do not fit the theme of Master and Apprentice. They never taught anybody how to fight, and they never learned how to fight from anybody. They just ran amok and caused trouble for a lot of people in the future. But still, they don't fit the theme of the trailer, so I'm assuming because of those reasons, that's why he wasn't added to the roster. But we do know that he's in the game. Obviously, we got to see him fight, and we know that Android 17 Super is already a confirmed character in the game and is counted currently in the roster count. So again, it's just speculatory, but I'm assuming that if characters don't fit the theme, they won't get added officially to the roster until whatever time they deem is appropriate. But even though he may not officially be part of the roster just yet, it's not as if they didn't show us what Android 17Z is capable of doing, because we did get to see his ultimate attack in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and that move is none other than Sadistic Dance, and this is the exact same ultimate attack that he had in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. And for those of you guys who don't know, Sadistic Dance is the move that Android 17 and 18 used to kill future Gohan. But still, it's nice knowing that even though he's not officially confirmed, we still get to see him in action. And that's emphasized a bit more because we do know that Android 17 Super is in the game, and what further solidifies them being two separate characters is their ultimate attacks, because Android 17Z's ultimate attack is Sadistic Dance, but Android 17 Super's ultimate attack is Super Electric Strike. So again, two different variations of Android 17 are going to be in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Speaking of ultimate attacks, we do get to see Android 18's ultimate attack in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and that move is none other than Sadistic 18, which is the exact same ultimate attack she had in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, with a slight twist. So, in Tenkaichi 3, after she lands the initial first few hits of her ultimate attack, she grabs the opponent's leg and then throws them straight to the ground. Whereas in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, she lands her first few initial hits and then she grabs the opponent's leg and then swings them and then throws them away. So we know that when it comes down to moves that have even been in older Tenkaichi games, the developers are willing to even update it, whether it's minor or major. And with how long it's been since Tenkaichi 3 released, I'm down to see the new approach that the developers are going to be taking with these moves. And finally, we get to see a few extra moves from characters near the end of the trailer. Now, excluding moves that we've seen from B-Jump and the recent screenshots that released before this trailer dropped, there were 3 moves in particular that stood out to me. And those moves are Explosive Demon Wave from Piccolo, Super Kamehameha from Adult Gohan, and Headshot from Beerus. Now, to be fair, when it comes down to Piccolo and Gohan, it's kind of expected that they would have Explosive Demon Wave and Super Kamehameha respectively, because in Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, those two characters had those moves. But again, with Beerus, he's a brand new character in the Tenkaichi series, and he does have a lot of moves to pull from. So knowing that he has this move in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is pretty cool, because not only did he use it in the anime, but it's also been in other Dragon Ball games as well. And also, we now know 3 of Beerus's moves in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which are Headshot, Cataclysmic Orb, and Sphere of Destruction. So we know more about Beerus's moveset than ever before, and that is definitely a good thing. And with that, we've broken down all the details I managed to pick up on in the latest Dragon Ball Sparking Zero Master and Apprentice trailer. But of course, I'm not perfect, and I know that there's probably some things that I missed out on. So if there's anything that I missed, or anything in general that you guys picked up on, definitely let me know in the comment section below. But with that being said, I'm Ndukauba, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.